Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Dominic, aka Dom the Cyber Genius, and I'm coming back to you guys with another video. Today's video is going to be about 23&Me, their security breach, and how they're now blaming customers for why this breach happened. They're saying that they used weak passwords. So we're going to go ahead and break this article down. As you know, 23&Me is a genetic testing company, and they did suffer a breach late 2023. Um, Basically, they're now blaming its customers for the data breach that they suffered. They did say, according to TechCrunch, the firm sent a letter out to the victims that were hit by this attack, claiming that their use of, I guess, weak passwords and failing to update these passwords and using recycled passwords from other websites that they're on is the reason why they had the security incident. To be honest, it's half of our fault as users, but it's also the company's fault as well, and I'll get into that later. They're saying that because of this issue, that the incident was not really a result of 23&Me's security posture. They're saying that it wasn't because of them, and it wasn't because they failed to maintain reasonable security measures. They're saying that it's because of the users. But as you know, to give a little bit of background, I believe it was in late December of last year, 2023, where they actually suffered the breach, and these hackers were able to break into about 14,000 23&Me accounts via brute forcing. So what brute forcing is, if you think about a door, right? Brute forcing, I'm going to try to kick it in, do as many combinations as I can to try to break this without, actually using the key. That goes for the same with online. These are where hackers use certain tools, or they use different mechanisms to try a bunch of combinations of usernames and passwords until they get it right. There's a lot of automation tools out there that allow them to do this, and because of it, they were able to breach around 14,000 accounts due to that. And basically, what they were saying is that after it was getting brute force, it then evolved into millions of things happening, right? Millions of users got it affected because of this. And there's a reason why. Initially, it was 14,000. But because hundreds of these accounts had opted into, I guess, the company's DNA relatives feature, this then gave the hackers access to personal data belonging to 6.9 million users. This is where I kind of blame 23&Me, because yes, it's on us to have better passwords and be secure, but why wasn't multi-factor authentication mandated? And what was the reason why that feature gave hackers access to millions of users? Like, what was in that feature that allowed them to do that? Yes, I can see that it may be somebody's name, email, and maybe they got access to like their address, but why is that information available if they just turn this feature on? Like, what was it about the feature that allowed for them to hack over 6.9 million users? That's the one thing that they're not really pointing out, or they're not saying. And I feel like 23&Me needs to take responsibility for that. As we scroll down, they did say, despite the number of victims being in the millions, the company claims that the stolen data cannot be abused. They're saying that the information that was potentially accessed cannot be used for any harm, as this was explained back in October of last year during a blog post. They're saying that the profile information that may have been accessed related to the DNA resilience feature, which is I guess something that the customer creates and chooses to share with other users on 23&Me's platform. So they're saying that this information would only be available if the plaintiffs were, elected to share this information with other users via the DNA feature. So I'm guessing what they're trying to say is that yes, they may have access to these 23&Me accounts, but they won't have access to the DNA relatives feature, even if that person, I guess, signs up for it. But they wouldn't get access if that person didn't allow for the DNA relatives feature to be seen by other people within 23&Me. So I'm guessing that's what they're trying to say. They were also saying that within this letter that I guess 23&Me wrote to its victims, they were saying that additionally the information that the unauthorized actor potentially obtained about the plaintiffs cannot have been used to cause, I guess, harm. Did not include their social security number. That's great. Did not include their driver's license number or any payment or financial information. That's always a good thing to hear. Yes, this is a breach. Yes, it's millions of people affected. It's never good, but at least if they say it's true or they say it's, good, at least nobody's social security number is in jeopardy or financial information. So I don't think you have to worry about like identity fraud, but still, that's still on the rise, and that could be a potential thing that occurs from this. They did say 23&Me refers to some of its users as the company is facing 30 lawsuits, right? They're facing 30 lawsuits. People are fed up. People are furious that these things happen. But what 23&Me made it seem like is like it's the user's fault, like it's all of their fault. When in reality, it's just as much 23&Me as it is the user. I feel like us users, we need to take full ownership of not having strong passwords and using recycled ones and using stuff like 1 2 3 4. I personally don't do that, but we need to take more accountability for that, and we need to switch it up. But also, 23&Me knows how sensitive this information is. So why couldn't some of that information be blocked, right? If like, why can't they make it to where you have to put in, authentication code or do something with multi-factor to get access to the DNA relatives feature or even getting access to your account? Why couldn't they, up the password policy? Yes, people may still create weak passwords, even though they're 8 characters long, 9 to 10 characters long. But at least if they're longer and they have some symbols and some other stuff, they can at least make it a little bit more harder to crack. As we get to the end of this article, these are just, I guess, some quotes from some people. Some of the people that were like within this lawsuit saying that like the finger pointing is unprofessional. They're saying that 23&Me knew or should have known that many consumers are using recycled passwords and that they should have implemented some of the many safeguards that are available to protect against credential stuffing, right? If you don't know, credential stuffing is when you use passwords that have been leaked or that have been breached, and then you run those passwords against working accounts for different websites to try to break into them. And that's exactly what these hackers did for 23&Me. But there's a lot of stuff that you can protect against it. Stronger password policies, multi-factor authentication, hiding some of that information or like making it harder to access relative to the different features that are within 23&Me. This is your DNA, for God's sake. So if somebody were to get this, what if they somehow figured out a way to copy it? And then they also have your name, your email, and phone, and your home address. Now they can pose as you and steal your identity, which is never, ever, ever, ever a good thing. And the last part of this I really liked, as far as like the article itself. They were saying that the breach impacted millions of consumers whose data was exposed through the DNA relatives feature on 23&Me's platform, not because they use recycled passwords. If you remember, 14,000 users, which is still a lot, those were the people that are initially affected by this brute forcing / credential stuffing attack. But the other 6.9 million got affected because of some of those initial users having the DNA relatives feature turned on. But like, how, if that feature is being turned on, did that then allow for the threat actors to get access to the information? Maybe they can share it and they see, different people that they share it with, but like that can't just automatically give them the password or something of that nature. They would still have to try to brute force it. So I think something on their end that was gave them a dead giveaway that allowed for the threat actors to hack and expose the information to 6.9 million users. And like they were saying, of those millions, only a few thousand accounts were compromised due to credential stuffing. 23&Me's attempt to shrink responsibility by blaming its customer does nothing for these millions of consumers where data was compromised through no fault of their own whatsoever. I don't think it's no fault. I feel you still need to have a stronger password. But for those users that were in the 6.9 million, I don't really think it's at their fault, because if somebody turned on a DNA relatives feature that you knew or someone in your family, and then they got breached, and then because they had it turned on and then they found your account somehow, then it's kind of on 23&Me not making that specific feature more secure, not putting robust systems into that. So I think it's like a 50-50. Like you can make it a 50-50, but I feel like it's more like a 70-30, depending on how you look at it. So that's really it. This is just a quick article. Sorry for the delay. Got sick. And we're going to be back 2024. We're going to be putting out content no matter what. I'm going to try to do it at least once a week. And we're just going to be putting out content every week. I'm going to try to just do it every Friday, and that's it. And we're just going to get to it each and every week. And I hope you guys enjoyed this article. You already know what it is. I'm Dominic, Dominus Cyber Genius, and I'm out. Peace.